late. It's getting close to signing day.
All right, JJ, you want to go ahead and get us started?
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm good, JJ. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Hey, what have you guys been doing this last week or so? How have you structured your practices?
This week we have final exams, so we practiced Sunday night. Gave them off Monday, which is normal. We practiced yesterday, which would be a Tuesday. We gave them all today, which is not normal, but we did that because of final exams. And then we're going to practice again tomorrow, and they'll have Friday and Saturday off. We'll figure out who our next opponent is, and we'll practice that Sunday night, which would be our first practice, whether that be for the conference championship or for hopefully knowing who our bowl opponent would be.
How have the guys responded to this kind of different practice schedule?
They've been incredible. I really bragged on them yesterday that every day I've coached these kids, they've loved to practice the game of football. They do a great job taking care of each other. They have fun. They're competitive. We have a lot of juice at practice every day. They've been a blessing. And I know it's not coach taught. Those guys have just been an absolute blessing to coach. And it's fun to coach kids that love to play football and love to practice the right way and do a great job taking care of each other. That's when you know you got a good culture and you're about the team and not so much about yourself.
Greg?
Jeff, have you guys structured the practices any differently than in previous weeks? Maybe getting some more reps for guys deeper down the depth chart or something like that?
Yeah, we've done no scout team whatsoever. We've repped 1s, 2s, and 3s. A lot of good on good. A lot of 1s versus 2s, 2s versus 1s. And the highlight of the week is when our 3s got the old scout team bowl. We're not done. We're only halfway done. So it's going to be finished tomorrow. Can't wait to see how that. It's a barn burner right now. The offense is up 6-4. We have a different way of scoring it. 2 points for a touchdown, 1 point for a stop, 2 points for a turnover. So right now, offense is up 6-4. So Hunter Ritterman is the offensive coordinator of that, and Drew Rhodes is the defensive coordinator. And a lot of scheming and trick plays being drawn behind closed doors right now. They won't even let me in the room. They think I'm going to go tell the other side. So I'm being bashed. I'm banned from all meetings right now when it comes to the scout team Super Bowl.
And so that's playing out over multiple days of offense versus defense, or how have you structured it?
Yes, sir. We played a half last Friday. It's full contact, right? So you can't just come back and do it again the very next day. You got to give them a week off because, they played basically a half of football, live tackling. So J-Rod probably had 15 to 18 carries. So we got to give my man a little break before he bounces back tomorrow.
Is there anything you've learned from these opportunities? Maybe a guy from the second or third team that deserves more snaps in a game situation or could move up as a result of this time?
Not that I didn't already know. I've got a good handle on them now. I didn't when it started, obviously, and it took me a good probably 6 to 8 weeks before I figured everybody out. But that's why we were so blessed to have the season we had, just trying to figure it out as we go. And we just kept scrapping out victories. Had some tough losses, obviously, but all in all, we could have been 2-9, and we could have been 11-0. So 7-4 is probably about where we deserve to be.
Jonas?
Coach, I'd like to talk a little bit more about that scouting bowl. Is this something that you've done with other programs before, or where did you get the idea for it at this time of year to kind of help keep the kids engaged and build some camaraderie?
My son played at A&M, and Coach Sumlin had it, and he did it on a Wednesday night each week. And, that was the highlight of my son's week. He was scout team quarterback all week, but then he got to do that. And so it's where it first entered my mind. You do have to be careful I think this year's a little different because of COVID. That three that you're out there banging on could easily be your one by Saturday. So you don't want to do it too much, right? So they're kind of being punished. You would do that more often, but they know a three can become a one and one COVID test. So I'm really leery about doing it tomorrow. To be honest with you, it might be a real short half of football because I can't afford anybody to get injured at all. And whenever you tackle live, obviously the odds go up tremendously of somebody possibly getting ankles. We had 2 kids get ankle injuries. We didn't lose anybody, but we had some guys that are gimped up a little bit, like a game would be.
Awesome. Thank you.
Greg?
So Jeff, obviously the attention now turns to UAB against Rice on Saturday. Have you thought about how you're going to be following that personally?
Yeah, because I hate getting all anxious and stuff, right? I had to do that enough for a living. I know if I watch the game, I'll be like, I'm going to do my best to not watch it. But I have a hard time believing I'll be able to pull that off. So I imagine I'll be locked in watching the game.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys were gonna have any type of event with the players or something where they could get together and watch it, obviously with distancing in mind. But I guess if you're not planning on watching it, have you thought about that part at all?
We did, but just this year, I'm terrified right now of the COVID. It's such an outbreak right now. I want those guys away from each other, get away from me, don't be inside. You know, if I had a giant screen TV on the practice field, maybe, and we were all scattered out of the whole deal, I'd consider it. But that deal's popping up so much everywhere. I just don't want our guys to get hit with it. So we decided not to do that. It would be a great idea. It would have been a lot of fun in a normal year to get the guys together. But when we get in that new $45 million building next year, that'd be a fun thing to do. Get in the team room, turn it on, big screen, get some popcorn, and have a good day. But I just think this is not the time to be doing that right now, personally.
And you mentioned your own kind of nerves and anxiety following it. Have you told the players about how to handle that, or has that been a discussion point for you guys, just not to let it get to them maybe?
Yeah, I do it more for the COVID's more what I've talked about. It's the testing. We're just getting to a time of year where it would be a real travesty if we were to make the conference championship game and we had guys miss it, or we get a really good bowl game against a really good opponent and we can't go show the country what our real team is about. That's what I've been hammering more than we can't control the Rice UAB game. We can put on Rice cheerleading outfits with pom-poms and jump up and down, cheer all we want to. It's really not going to matter.
Jonas?
Coach, it's going back to the kind of COVID numbers rising a little bit. Last time when we spoke, last week, that you said you're trying to create a bowl atmosphere for your guys to give them that experience still. But with the numbers on the rise across the country, you mentioned being anxious. Are you still able to create that environment for the kids? And obviously, it might not be what you what you wanted it to look like, but what does that kind of look like now?
We just don't know what our bowl is yet or when that would be. So whenever I find out that, we'll work backwards and see if we can find a night. Preferably, the weather will be nice and we could be outside, which I feel way more comfortable with the kids being outside and having some space than I would taking them to a movie or playing games indoors. I would not feel comfortable doing that. I'm hoping for a pretty night, something we can do outside.
Thanks.
JJ?
Jeff, this time next week is signing day. What can we expect from this class?
It's a great question. Length, size, speed. We haven't taken as many high school kids. as we probably normally would, but with no camps. I just don't want to gamble on things I haven't seen in my own eyes. So we're going to err on the side of relationships we had with players previously, grad transfers, portal guys, junior college. Got to save some spots for super seniors. So it's been a very tricky deal, but we're in a really good spot. We feel really good. We were Zooming and doing all that right now as we speak, and we'll be doing that all the way through Wednesday. This time last year was I believe the first day I ever met my players. I think yesterday was the press conference, and we had a official visit this weekend. So as crazy as I say this time last year was a lot crazier.
There's a possibility you could be preparing for a bowl game, the conference championship, and signing day all in the same week or so. How do you try and manage all that?
Yeah, well, we're way ahead. If the opponents come out the way we've guessed right, we'll be way ahead. So that's going to help. If we guess wrong, it's going to be a mad scramble, because we know we're really focused on a couple of teams right now. Obviously, Marshall being the first one, and then we've got some. We're guessing, educated guessing on who our bowl game might be. So we've worked pretty hard. So we're way ahead on that.
And then one just last recruiting question for you. Do you expect to sign most of your class here in the early period, or are you going to have some more in February?
We're going to say some numbers. We're going to try to say some all the way through the spring, just for grad transfers and guys that you always can find late, the Mackay Harts of the world that can come in and start from day one. You got to always save a couple of spots for that, in my opinion. Those super seniors make it a little different. Now, it depends on how many of those guys really want to come back, because those might eat up some of my numbers. So it'll be a tricky year. Roster management, which I have Coach Price as our director of player personnel. This will be a really important year for us to get this team to look like we want it to look.
Greg?
Jeff, has the bowl picture started to solidify at all? Do you have it narrowed down like we think it'll be one of these 3 or 4, or how much of an idea do you have at this point?
I believe with COVID being so prevalent in our country right now that everything's going to be regionally decided. So I'm looking really hard at who people predict us to be in the Frisco Bowl and, in Dallas and Fort Worth. I would be shocked if we're not going to one of those places.
And now that you sort of know that it's going to come down to this last week, whether you're in the conference championship game or not, is there a concern about to what extent that timing limits the possibilities, or are you confident there's enough stuff later in the year as far as bowl games, if it comes to that?
Yeah, well, if we're in the conference championship, I would imagine our bowl would just be later. We couldn't turn around and play the conference championship on Friday, then play the Frisco Bowl on Saturday, obviously. But there's the potential for the 24th, potential for the 26th, potential for the 31st. So all those, I think, would come into play if we were lucky enough to go to the conference championship.
I was going to ask about the 24th. That is kind of a tight turnaround, but that feels like right about the line. You guys would be comfortable with that? I guess it would be 5 days, 6 days, something like that.
Yeah, I know that'd be a quick turnaround, but I'm really concerned about COVID. So I don't want to send all my kids home for Christmas, then bring them back. What would our team look like? Those kind of things concern me. I'd rather just, if my team is up and running, if that's our team, I'd like to play as soon as possible. obviously we got a lot of tests to go before we get to that point. So who knows if that's going to be my team even then. It's really exhausting, Greg. As much fun as we're having because we had such a great year. We had to be very careful not to get in the mindset that we're ready for this to be over, because it's a beatdown, right? But our kids have just been fantastic, and they keep wanting to come to practice. So long as they have those kind of attitudes, I can take all this other what if, because it's just, and I know y'all get tired of hearing me say it, but you got to live in the moment. You got to be the very best you can be today. And we got to go in there and be the best recruiters, the best closers we can be. And we got to get a great class signed, because in 3 years, when I'm looking at you guys, y'all are not going to be saying, well, we feel sorry for Jeff. His first 2 years of recruiting, he only got 1 week for his first class, and his second class, he didn't even get to have anybody on campus. So I don't think y'all will be saying that. Y'all be like, what's wrong? Why are we not winning ball games? So we got to make sure we're getting this thing done.
And the other end of that with the roster management is the piece of the seniors who might return. How far along are you guys in those conversations?
They're pretty deep right now. There's 8 to 10 that have expressed they really want to come back. So we're getting information from them, from scouts, trying to anticipate, because there's not, we've had no NFL scouts come through here. They can't. Pro day, what's that going to look like this year? This has just been a real, I can see why the NCAA did what they did by letting these kids have the option to come back or not, because it's really unfair to these seniors. So I hope all of them come back, but that's not what is the best interest of that kid. I'm going to support that and help that young man any way we can.
Are there any at this point that you can say certainly we should expect to see back next year?
I'd rather wait just to see when they get real information from the NFL before I did that, because I don't think that'd be fair to them. So I'd rather wait on that, Greg.
Sure. And you've mentioned COVID in the testing a few times already. Have you had any positives flare up in the last week and a half? Has that impacted practice at all?
It hasn't impacted practice, but I think we have that on our website, all of our information. I believe I think it's all on there. Contact tracing, positives, all that kind of stuff's on there.
Yeah, they give us the number of positives, but I never know if it's you guys or basketball or what it might be. So, but it seems like things have flowed pretty smoothly, at least, where it hasn't been a disruption.
Yes, there has not been a disruption.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for Coach? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate y'all. Sorry I was a little late, but if that defensive tackle comes, it'll be worth it. If not, I owe y'all 5 minutes of y'all's life, so I apologize.
Thanks, Jeff.
God bless. Birds up.